You ever show up to a place thinking you're family, only to realize you're just an old favour they outgrew? That's what Christmas Eve felt like. The cold bit into my cheeks as I stepped out of the car, holding a homemade pecan pie and a bottle of wine wrapped in ribbon. The house was glowing, windows warm with yellow light, laughter leaking out through cracks in the doorframe. I could smell rosemary and roast beef from the porch. My heart clenched just a little. I wanted to believe I was still part of that warmth. For 29 years I had been, or so I thought. I knocked once, out of habit more than expectation. My mum never waited for knocks when she came to our door. Neither did I. We were family, at least we used to be. The door creaked open. My mother stood there wearing her favourite red sweater with the silver buttons. Her lips didn't even try to curve into a smile. "Ellie," she said flatly, folding her arms across her chest. "This dinner's not for you." I blinked, thought I misheard. "What?" Her tone sharpened. "You weren't invited. We're keeping tonight peaceful." Behind her, the golden glow danced on garlands and candles. My cousin Haley laughed at something my dad said. He was carving the ham, already passing plates. There were clinks of wine glasses, flashes of cameras. It looked like a Hallmark movie, but not for me. "Go ruin someone else's holiday," Mom said, voice like steel. I looked down at the pie, still warm. My fingers had left faint indents in the foil from the drive over. I'd baked it that morning from scratch. She knew pecan was her favourite. I brought wine too, not the cheap kind. I remembered her favourite vineyard. I nodded once, just once. My throat burned, but I didn't let it show. "Got it." Then I turned, and I walked back into the cold. Most revenge stories start with rage, screaming, public fights, viral videos, but not this one. Mine started in silence, with the crunch of snow under my boots and the sound of a door quietly clicking shut behind me. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, but something ended on that porch, something I had held on to for far too long. The driveway was full of cars. My brother's Tesla, Uncle Rob's truck, Haley's little BMW with her name on the plate. A guest list carefully curated without me. I got in my car and sat there a moment, gripping the steering wheel. I wasn't mad, not exactly. I was clear. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. They didn't forget me. They removed me. I'd spent years trying to earn my place, bringing food, cleaning dishes, laughing at Uncle Ray's recycled jokes, building their company's website, designing their logo, even writing marketing blurbs when no one asked. I wasn't just helpful, I was invisible help, the kind they only noticed when I wasn't there. And now I wasn't. They'd made that permanent. The warmth of the car heater barely touched me. My hands, still gripping the pie, began to tremble, not from cold, but from something else, not sadness, not anger, something sharper. 10 minutes passed before I saw movement again, a blur at the front door, someone running down the porch steps, coat half on, voice shouting my name like a lifeline. "Ellie!" It was my dad. He looked around, frantic, scanning the street, like he'd just realized something was missing, but it was too late. I watched him from inside my car, parked just down the block. He didn't know yet what I'd done. He didn't know yet what I knew, but he would. Because they hadn't just kicked me out of Christmas dinner. They'd built their whole business, their whole brand, on the work I gave them. The unpaid hours, the designs, the proposals, the client relationships, the identity of Rourke Family Catering was mine. And I still had the admin keys. Next chapter, let's just say they thought shutting me out was the end. They forgot who built the house they were celebrating in. It didn't start this way. There was a time when my parents loved me, or at least I thought they did. Back when Mum still called me her miracle baby because she wasn't supposed to have children after 40. Back when I used to sneak into the kitchen and sit on the counter just to watch her cook. She'd hand me a slice of apple from the pie filling and say, "This is the sweet part, Ellie. Don't forget the sweet part." But somewhere along the way, I became something else, useful, predictable, replaceable. After Mum passed, the house got quieter. Holidays didn't sparkle the same. I tried to fill in, baking the desserts, setting the table, making sure the playlist still had Nat King Cole, and not just whatever Hayley streamed from Spotify. I wasn't just mourning Mum. I was fighting to keep my place in a house that was slowly closing its doors on me. I poured myself into their catering business because it made Dad smile again. He'd built it from scratch with Mum. Rourke Family Catering, 3 generations strong. They had no marketing team, no modern systems. So I offered to help. I designed the logo, updated the website, wrote their entire About Us section. All unpaid. All because I wanted to matter again. When I proposed becoming a partner, nothing big, just a minority stake, Dad barely looked up from his coffee. You're not really business-minded, Ellie. You're more creative. Hayley gets this stuff more than you. She's trending. Hayley. 24, with exactly 1 online marketing certificate and a curated Instagram page full of filtered brunches and beach pics. But she called herself a branding guru, so I guess that was enough. 6 months later, the site relaunched. New logo, new tagline, a tab labelled Meet Our Founders. My name wasn't there. Hayley's was. I didn't say anything, not at first. I thought maybe it was an oversight, maybe I was still needed. So I kept showing up. I brought food, cleaned dishes, updated files, checked in with vendors. I told myself, they'll come around. They just forgot. But they didn't forget. They just moved on without me. When my calls went unanswered, I told myself they were busy. When I saw Hayley post company updates I had written, word for word, I told myself it didn't matter. When I wasn't invited to Grandma's 80th birthday and saw the photos later online, everyone smiling under the banner I designed, that's when I knew I wasn't being overlooked, I was being erased. And here's the part I want to ask you. Have you ever been replaced in your own family? Not forgotten. Replaced. If you've ever stood there watching someone else take your seat at the table, wear your story like a costume, drop a comment, tell me where you were, what happened, what they said to make you feel like you were never really one of them, I promise I'll read everyone. There's something about realizing you were only ever wanted when you were useful. It guts you. Not because you miss them, but because for a long time you made yourself small to fit their comfort. And now you see it for what it is. They never wanted you, just what you could do for them. And God, that truth hurts. It hit hardest when I saw Hayley on a podcast, bragging about building the brand from the ground up. She was holding a mug with a logo I drew. She said, "We built this business with love and vision." No mention of me, not even a blink. Still, I kept quiet. I didn't clap back. I didn't post a call-out thread. I didn't scream into the void. I watched. I listened. I waited. Because I knew something they didn't. You can replace the face. You can delete the name. But when the foundation is mine, all it takes is one tremor to bring the whole thing down. And I was done waiting for permission to be seen. 2 weeks before Christmas, I stopped by my dad's office with a tin of gingerbread cookies, not because I had to, not because I expected anything, just habit, hope, maybe, a flicker of old wiring that still told me, "Your family, show up." He looked surprised to see me, not in a bad way, just like someone who wasn't sure he still remembered the shape of my presence. He hugged me. Not tight, but long, longer than usual. His palm stayed on my back, like he had something to say but couldn't find the words. "You look tired," he said finally. "Just a lot of work," I lied. He nodded and thanked me for the cookies, said Mum would probably eat them all before dinner. That stung, but I smiled anyway. He stepped out to take a client call. I waited in the front office, fingers tapping nervously on my knees. That's when I saw the envelope. Thick, cream-coloured, edged in gold foil. You are cordially invited to the Rourke family Christmas Eve celebration, custom printed, RSVP required. It was half buried under a folder on his desk, and it had a list, a printed guest list. I scanned it without thinking, automatic, like muscle memory. Every name was there, every cousin, every uncle, grandma, even Haley's new boyfriend, the one who called me Emily once and nobody corrected him, but not me. My name was missing. I sat back in the chair, slowly, and just stared at the wall for a while. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't confused. I was done being surprised, because this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a forgotten envelope or a misprinted card. It was a message. The truth is, when you're being cut out, it doesn't happen all at once. It's not some big dramatic door slam. It's little things, drips of silence, missing invites. Oh, we thought you were busy. And then one day you're looking at a list and your name's not there. And you finally see it for what it is. They've already moved on. I think the worst part was realising how long I'd been trying to earn something they'd already decided I didn't deserve. All those late nights helping with vendor emails, unpaid design hours, driving halfway across the state to deliver samples to clients for events I wasn't even invited to. All of it meant nothing. Because the moment Haley showed up with ring lights and Canva templates, they had their shiny replacement. I was too serious, too soft-spoken, too me, and that wasn't good enough anymore. After I left the office, I walked past the bakery 2 blocks down. They were putting out peppermint cupcakes in the display window. A little girl pressed her hands to the glass and pointed to one shaped like a snowman. I stood there for a second, just watching. Not sad, not angry, just empty. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just not invited to Christmas. I'd been disinvited from my own family. Later that night, I sat on my apartment floor, piecing things together in my head. The silence, the slow fade, the business rebrand, the way my name had been quietly removed from everything I built. Even Grandma stopped calling. I thought maybe I'd done something wrong, that I was too distant, too blunt, too wrapped up in my work. But no, I was just too hard to control. Haley made them look good on social media. I made them feel guilty. Like a mirror they didn't want to face, so they broke the mirror. The next day, I opened my laptop, not to cry, not to write a rant, but to confirm what I'd already suspected. I still had back-end access to the company website, the one I built, the one they still use to book clients, collect payments, post photos. They never even changed the password. I hovered my mouse over the admin dashboard, and for the first time in months, I smiled, not because I was planning revenge, but because I had finally stopped begging to be loved by people who only needed me useful. I was no longer the girl who baked cookies for people who couldn't bother to say my name right. I was no longer the placeholder, and I was done sitting outside. I didn't go scorched earth. I didn't post a thread. I didn't even change the password on the company website. What I did was much quieter and a hell of a lot smarter. The night I found out I was officially erased, I opened my laptop and logged into the admin panel of Rourke Family Catering. They still hadn't locked me out. Dashboard, bookings, payment gateway, media uploads, client contacts, all still live, all still built on my architecture. I spent years developing the back end. I had every invoice, every proposal, every client email sent through my templates. The branding, mine. The logo, I drew it. The color palette, I coded it into the style sheet myself, line by line. They didn't just forget to give me credit. They built a business on my unpaid labor, then pretended I never existed. For a week, I didn't touch a thing. I just watched. Haley logged in every Monday, like clockwork, around 10 a.m. She uploaded fake testimonials and scheduled Instagram cross-posts. Dad only ever logged in when he had a big client pitch, usually Thursdays between 9 and 11 p.m. Mum never touched the site. She just posed in the pictures like she'd planned every event. It was almost impressive how confidently they were using everything I made as if their names had always been on it. I started pulling files, all the original PSDs, the brand board, copy drafts, version 1 invoices with my name still attached. They had deleted me from the current version, sure, but they forgot something. The internet remembers. So do I. Then came the kicker. One of their biggest contracts, a $115,000 wedding at a luxury hotel in the spring, had been sealed using my original proposal. Word for word, design to design. I checked the client email thread. The proposal had been attached via a download link with my metadata still embedded, my legal name in the document properties, my file naming system. It was legally mine. They were profiting off work they had no right to use. I didn't scream. I opened a new doc, and I wrote a cease and desist letter, professional, polite, airtight, attached screenshots, metadata, contract clauses, copyright law references. Then I sent it BCC'd to 3 places: the wedding hotel's legal team, the retirement community that booked them for monthly catering, a corporate event agency that gave them repeat business. Within 48 hours, 2 of the clients pulled out completely. The third sent a legal inquiry requesting proof of authorization. I didn't need to yell. I just let the truth walk in wearing a suit. But the best part, I also sent the letter to a 4th address, Rourke and Blake, LLP, my father's law firm. He co-founded it 20 years ago. He'd always said, "The truth doesn't panic when you turn on the lights." Well, I had turned on the lights, and the truth, it had his daughter's signature all over it. For a moment I thought maybe I'd feel guilty, that I'd hesitate, that I'd see this as revenge, but it wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. I wasn't burning the house down, I was taking my name off the deed. The day after I sent those letters, I got a voicemail from Hayley, breathy, frantic. "Ellie, hey, there's something weird going on with the hotel account. They're saying we can't use your... Look, can we just talk? I think there's been a misunderstanding. Please don't make this into a thing." A thing? Sweetheart, you made it a thing when you printed business cards with my work and signed them with your name. I didn't call back. I didn't need to. Because the message had landed. The silence they fed me for years. The ghosting. The demotions. The erasure. It was all being documented now, loudly, legally, publicly. You see, I had tried kindness. I had tried being the good daughter, the good niece, the one who gave and never asked. But they didn't want kindness, they wanted compliance. And when they couldn't get that, they made me disappear. Well, I was done disappearing. Let them wonder, let them panic. Christmas was coming, and this year, I wasn't coming to dinner. I was coming for the truth. Christmas Eve came, like it always did, soft, cold, and pretending to be gentle. I didn't wear red, I didn't curl my hair or do the whole "maybe they'll welcome me back" routine. That version of me? She'd been left out in the snow too many times. I wore black, black jeans, black coat, black boots, no makeup, just sharpness and silence. At 6:02 p.m. sharp, I pulled up and parked 3 houses down, right on time, right when I knew dinner would be starting. I didn't come with pie this time, or wine, or any hope in my chest. I came to watch the fallout. The house looked perfect, lights strung like movie magic, wreath on the door, the windows glowing with warmth and laughter. Inside, my mother floated between chairs with a tray of deviled eggs. Hayley sat like royalty at the centre of the table. Dad was pouring wine. For a moment, just one tiny moment, I felt the familiar ache. That stupid instinct. Maybe they'll see me. Maybe they'll call me in. They didn't. I walked up the porch, knocked once. The door opened faster than I expected. Mum stood there, same sweater as last year, same icy expression. She didn't even flinch, just folded her arms. "You weren't invited. I made that clear." I tilted my head. "Just came to say, Merry Christmas," she sneered. "Go ruin someone else's holiday." There was a pause. Just long enough for her to register that I wasn't holding anything. No gifts, no apologies, no excuses. Then I smiled, got it. And I turned away, calm, controlled. She didn't know what had already happened. 10 minutes later, I sat at the end of the block, heat on low, fingers on the steering wheel. That's when the front door slammed open again. My father came stumbling out, half his coat on, scarf dragging, phone still lit in his hand. "Ellie!" He yelled it like someone had stolen something, like he was waking up from a coma. I didn't get out, I just watched. He turned in circles in the driveway, eyes wide, searching, not for the daughter he'd pushed away, but for the person who just delivered the truth. The email had landed. The cease and desist letters, the contracts, the proposals, the metadata, and more importantly, the fourth file I sent him personally. A scanned copy of his own signature, dated 4 years ago, acknowledging me as the sole author and creator of all web and design assets used to build Rourke Family Catering's digital identity. It had been part of a family filing we did once. Meant nothing to them at the time, but to me it was gold. Legal, documented, time-stamped gold, and now he was reading it from the inbox of the law firm he co-founded. That's the thing about law. You can't unsign your own name. Especially when your daughter just pulled your whole business into question with one sentence. Per my rights as original creator and IP holder, I never granted license for commercial use. He knew what it meant. He knew what it could cost. And he knew exactly who had lied to him. From my car, I watched as he turned back toward the house, shoulders stiff, breathing heavy. The door didn't close as quickly this time, it stayed open, just a crack. Later that night, I got a text from an unknown number, just 2 words, "I'm sorry." No name, no context. I didn't reply, because sorry wasn't enough. 3 days later, Carol, my dad's legal assistant for 20 years, called me directly. Said my father had pulled all financial support from the catering business. Said he was personally filing legal claims for intellectual property theft, misrepresentation of internal partnership structure, unauthorized use of protected materials, and yes, fraud. Hayley tried to claim she didn't know. Said she thought I'd approved everything. She cried in front of the board. Dad didn't blink. He just opened a printed Slack exchange where she called me a quiet little doormat and laughed about stealing the nerd's code. Mum wept at the hearing, said I was overreacting, that this was family. Dad's voice was ice. Family doesn't erase people, and they sure as hell don't build businesses on their backs, then lock them out. The judge didn't even need long. Hayley was stripped of all association with the brand. The company had 30 days to shut down operations using my materials, assets frozen, vendor contracts revoked, joint family account dissolved, and the house for sale. I never showed up for any of it. Didn't need to. I had already said everything I needed to, the moment I stood on that porch holding nothing but the truth. That Christmas night, I sat on the couch with my dad. Just us, no tree, no music, just 2 mugs of hot cocoa and the hum of a space heater. He said nothing for a while, then quietly, "You were right, I should have seen it sooner." I looked at him. "You did see it, you just chose not to." He didn't argue. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't hoping for anything, not approval, not forgiveness, not even love. I was just still. There was a time I would have given anything to be back at that table. Now, I had no interest in tables I had to beg to be seated at. Let them choke on their silence. I built my own. Christmas morning arrived cold and quiet. The neighbourhood lay under a thin blanket of white, and the Rourke family house, once a beacon of laughter and light, stood dark and silent, its windows shuttered. I woke up to the soft hum of my space heater and the muted chirp of my phone. No group chat pings, no Merry Christmas texts from Mom or Hayley, just a lone notification, an email from Rourke and Blake LLP with the subject line, Rourke Family Catering, case filed. I stared at it for a long time before I dared to click. By mid-morning, the world knew. My father, Richard Rourke, had personally filed legal action against his own wife and niece. In the suit, he laid out the charges in stark, precise terms: intellectual property theft, proven by metadata and signed acknowledgements. Misrepresentation of partnership, documented in internal emails showing Haley's appointment as a partner was only ever an illusion. Unauthorized use of protected materials, since all branding assets were created and owned by me. Breach of verbal contract, as Dad had explicitly promised to revisit equity discussions after 1 year, only for them to revisit without me. Fraud for skimming profits from the family account that Grandma set up for family ventures. In court papers, the firm requested immediate injunction: freeze all Rourke family catering assets, revoke Haley's affiliation, and place a lien on the family home. It was surreal reading the documents. I'd grown up watching Dad as a rock, steady, dependable, protective. But that morning, the justice system shone a spotlight on his quiet brand of power, unwavering integrity, even when it meant taking down your own family. By noon, news outlets covering local business had picked up the story. Rourke Family Catering sued by co-founder's daughter. Family feud leads to multi-million-dollar claim. Social media lit up with speculation. Some people sided with me, calling it overdue accountability. Others gossiped about the drama of a Christmas lawsuit. Haley posted a tearful Instagram story. "I never meant to hurt Ellie. I thought Dad and Mom had cleared everything." She tagged my handle but didn't mention me by name. In the DMs, hundreds of messages flooded in, some supportive, some scathing. Mom did not post. She hired a PR firm to handle inquiries and gave a single statement: "This is a family matter we hope to resolve privately." Resolve privately. Replace family clause with legal clause, I thought. 2 days later, a judge granted my father's motion for a preliminary injunction. All Rourke family catering assets were frozen. Their bank accounts, including the joint family fund Grandma established, were inaccessible. Vendors received letters notifying them to halt all payments. The luxury hotel wedding was officially cancelled, a $115,000 deposit forfeited, and the crowning blow, the family home where I grew up, was placed on the market by court order to satisfy bond requirements. Within hours, for sale signs appeared on the front lawn. Neighbours who had once waved hello looked on with wide eyes. Mom's world unravelled. That night I heard second-hand that she sobbed in the living room, clutching the discarded invitation card, the very one that had excluded me. Haley threw a tantrum in the driveway, banging on the windows and demanding her phone back so she could live stream her heartbreak. I didn't watch. I didn't gloat. Because this wasn't vengeance, it was accountability. On Christmas Day itself, I stayed home and baked a small batch of gingerbread men, one for me, one for Dad. At 7 p.m, he knocked on my door, carrying a thermos of hot chocolate and 2 mugs. He smiled a little awkwardly, as if he wasn't sure I'd open the door. I wore my same black jeans and coat. He'd worn a pressed shirt and slacks. We sat on my couch, no tree, no music, just the soft glow of lamplight. He poured the chocolate into our mugs. Steam curled up between us. "Dad, I'm proud of you. Proud of how you handled it. Me. I couldn't have done it without you seeing the truth." He sighed, looking both relieved and mournful. "Dad, I failed you for years. I thought I was protecting the family legacy. Instead, I let them use you." Me. "It wasn't your fault. They chose to erase me." He nodded, tears glistening. We sipped in silence. No awkward apologies, no declarations of "let's fix the family." Just a simple acknowledgement. The past was broken, and some things could never be the same. A few days later, I launched my own branding consultancy. Ellie Rourke Creative. It was modest, just a one-page site, my portfolio, a contact form. No fancy marketing, no cut-rate freebies, just honest work, priced fairly. The first client was a small non-profit that needed a new logo. They'd followed my story online and offered a thank you project to help me rebuild. Within a week, I had 3 paying clients. By New Year's, I had enough to rent a studio space. My phone buzzed with inquiries. One morning, I woke up to a forwarded email thread from a former vendor, now a friend, asking if I'd consider speaking at a women's leadership summit. They loved my quiet strength. I thought of every plate I'd washed, every logo I'd coded, every promise I'd made that went unfulfilled. Each memory felt like a stepping stone rather than a wound. I had turned my pain into purpose. People often ask if I regret any part of this journey. Do I wish I hadn't pushed so hard? Do I feel guilty about my parents losing everything? My answer? No regrets. Because I learned. Kindness is valuable, but self-worth is priceless. They never paid me for my work. They never invited me to Christmas dinner. They never acknowledged my heart. So I took what was mine. Not out of revenge, but out of necessity. And at the end of the day, the only person I needed to prove anything to was myself. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been cast aside by the people you trusted most? Have you ever found the strength to stand up and reclaim what was rightfully yours? Drop your story in the comments below. Let's build a community where no one feels invisible at the family table. If this story resonated, hit that like button, subscribe for more real revenge stories, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is simply knowing you belong.